You can hear the sound of the sun from Earth. It is loud, but the planet has adapted. Suddenly, the light goes out. 8 minutes after it died, the last bit of light reaches Earth. It'll take 13 years before the roar of the sun the moment it died reaches us. When the sun extinguished, the world worked quickly, setting up artificial day, night cycles for major cities, and then expanding outwards. The refugees poured in, of course, and life got worse, but that was years ago. Hardly anyone even remembered natural sunlight at this point. But the screaming continued, the loud, ever present, piercing pitch that the sun emitted seemed to continue, almost forever. Until today. Today was the day. Scientists, with all their calculations, had figured out the exact moment that the sun's screaming would stop. Like New Year's celebrations in New York, the world was coming together for this precise moment. Globally, each day was treating it as daytime. They'd planned for the exact moment to recreate the extinguish by turning all lights off at the exact moment the screaming stopped. The countdown begun, echoing globally. A countdown from 10. Everyone waiting with bated breath. For the first time in the history of human life, we would finally know the sound of silence. The countdown continues. You could see how excited people were. 5. Children who had never even seen sunlight were getting excited now. What would the world hear? Time seemed to slow down. 3, 2, 1. The lights went out. A global night, just like that first day. But this time, the screaming stopped. A moment of pure silence. Deafening. Hundreds of thousands of years of evolution and made us accustomed to the screaming. Imagine your brain adapting to hundreds of millions, if not billions of years of evolution, then experiencing a sudden, dramatic change. Like the human race adapting to breathe oxygen and suddenly being required to breathe lead. That's what it felt like. It wasn't long before the screaming started again. Not from the sun, but from the pain. Such a great pain. Many killed themselves. Even more died of natural causes. But those that tried to continue knew the truth. The cities tried to adapt by setting up speakers, but it was never enough. It won't be long before the human race dies out. No one can live with such a great pain for long. I guess this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with deafening silence. This story was written by Erebus495. Read by a bag of Vicodin. Thank you for listening. This next story was written by Merge Long. The ancient stargazing nutjobs have been warning us for a while about it. It took the best part of 32 centuries to organize society for the big move underground, where humanity learned to adapt to being independent of the sun, leaving behind the light of day, our cities and our mountains and forests and oceans. Sure, we still manage contact with the surface and its solar observatories and our solar observation satellites, gazing intently at the sun, awaiting the moment it would go out. For the longest time, we weren't even sure if it would. With each passing sidereal day, the conspiracists argued more and more passionately that the scientists had duped us. The greatest prank in history, one that had cost billions of lives and changed the entire course of human history. The rest of us, we clung on to that hope. Maybe the scientists were wrong. Maybe one day some whiz from Princeton, now located 10 kilometers beneath the old campus, would pop up and tell us the ancient astronomers had missed something, maybe miscarried a digit in their calculations or something, and we could all recolonize above. Geothermal energy meant we didn't need to rely on more temporary sources of energy, and 3200 periods meant scientists had plenty of time to work their magic and create wickedly ingenious ways of harnessing that energy. But come on. Compared to the warmth of sunlight on skin, the heat of the lower lithosphere is nothing. I would know, since I've been to the surface. Once, when I was 20. It started as a typical internship to the solar astronomy department at Cambridge. I entered data about solar maximums and minimums into programs for 6 sidereal months for Professor Lucia's work on the heliopause. But apparently I asked the right questions around the right people, and soon I was working as a research student by her side, parsing solar irradiance fluctuation models into the quantum supercomputers and publishing the results. And somehow, they had noticed us, and they gave us a ludicrous amount of money to go above for 2 periods and work at the Saharan Large Array. And so, sidereal months of security inspections later, I was working under the sun, one of 500 people in the entire world on the surface. Make better models with the data, they told us. We need to understand our own star better. Our models were apparently not that good, because while they predicted another 200 periods of sunlight, 6 sidereal months into the experiment, the sun started to go out. It didn't go out immediately, you know. You probably learned that in school anyway. Professor Lucia and the rest of us research students, there were 5 of us, first noticed the irradiance anomaly and waved it away as just that, an anomaly. But it wasn't that. It was the beginning of a trend. And so 3 sidereal months later, all non-essential staff were evacuated back underground. By then, the average outside temperature had plummeted to 185 K, and our instruments had started to fail anyway, not being designed for those temperatures. A sidereal month later, we followed them underground, the last humans to see the light of day, ever. We didn't have the best data from underground, but all data from our nuclear-powered autonomous observatories suggested that solar minimum occurred 3,224 periods, 4 sidereal months, and 22 sidereal days after Terror Day, and it hasn't risen since. That was 13 periods ago. Today, I woke up to the most astounding silence I have ever known. These 2 stories were read by a bag of Vicodin. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.